Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste, hello everyone. Welcome again to my NPTEL course on interior design. Today we are at the lecture number 31 and we are going to talk about professional practice, and specifically we will discuss interior services and the functional importance with regard to professional practices and talking about these services. So the broad content is professional practice in interior design, which is very crucial, interior services and their functional importance. And I would also like to discuss one case study, which is the Book Promotion Center, Dehradun. It is a live project which I have recently finished for the Ministry of Education, specifically the National Book Trust of India, and we will discuss those details. So when we talk about professional practice in interior design, it entails a combination of specialized skills, education, and a client-focused attitude. All of these are very important when we talk about professional practice in the field of interior design. Characteristics such as pride in work, responsibility, eagerness to learn, and effective teamwork exhibit true professionalism in an interior designer. And it depends on an individual, in what capacity and with what attitude they, engage with the clientele, and how do they demonstrate the capabilities, on ground. So it, of course, other than the educational aspects and the professional practice guidelines, it's very much to do with an individual's personality also. Rather than relying solely on credentials, interior designers must adopt a client-responsive approach, fostering collaborative partnerships that enhance creativity and align with the client goals. So overall personality, approach and attitude is very important. The real subject of interior design, as we all know, is an enclosed space. That is the settings within buildings that house human activity. First and foremost, interior designers are concerned with how people experience these settings and how their designs support different activities. These concerns form the core of interior design profession's specialized knowledge. In defining the professional practice of interior design, the Foundation for Interior Design Education and Research, which is FIDER, provides the following outline of its scope. So starting by analyzing client needs, goals, and life safety requirements, then integrating findings with the knowledge of interior design, formulating preliminary design concepts that are aesthetic, appropriate, functional, and very important that they are also in accordance with codes and standards. So that's important, and this is led by the FIDER. Developing and presenting final design recommendations through appropriate presentation media. So that's also very important, how the presentation is done and how the recommendations are, put forth. Of course, preparing working drawings and specifications, for non-load bearing interior construction, then RCPs, the reflected ceiling plans, lighting, interior detailing, of course, materials, specifications, finishes, and the overall layout and space planning. Continuing with the working drawings, covering the furnishings, fixtures, equipment in compliance with universal accessibility guidelines and all applicable codes. So these are very important. And there is a lecture where we have covered interior design drawings and representation techniques. So we have discussed in detail, how to prepare these drawings and how to communicate them. Collaborating with professional services of other licensed practitioners in the technical areas of mechanical, electrical, and load bearing design as required for regulatory approval. So, collaborations are always important. And having discussed these guidelines and this scope, which is, laid by FIDER, I must also, submit this before all of you that the scope is ever changing, ever evolving. So, as interior designers, we do also cover the load bearing aspects of design, and it's not just decor and non load bearing aspects. And we do collaborate, for the technical expertise in other areas, mechanical, electrical, and so on. But our basic education, for interior design and along with practice and experience, a lot of things get covered, and it's not just the bare minimum non-load bearing aspects and simple designs that are expected from interior designers. We are quite capable of doing more. And again, this brings me back to the point why I keep saying interior architecture as an encompassing holistic discipline, which makes us exposed to all kinds of details and equips us to be prepared with all sorts of, tools and practices and be able to deliver everything when we are on field. So that's very important that the scope is ever evolving, ever expanding, ever changing. Particularly so because we have so much technology support and so many, tools at hand, which were not earlier so, but we are now having them at our disposal. And then the scope further continues, preparing and administering bids and contract documents as the client's agent, then reviewing and evaluating design solutions during implementation and upon completion. So these are all important points which are mentioned as scope under FIDER guidelines. Now, talking about interior services and their functional importance, we can try to understand first that the interior design services include in-person design, purchasing, project management, and installation amongst a multitude of associated tasks. So it's a plethora of tasks, it's a lot of activities, and it's a lot of expertise which is required. And we need interior design services to accomplish all these tasks and beyond what is mentioned here. The interior designer handles the entire project from initial concept to finishing touches, whether it's a new construction, renovation, or remodeling. So this is also very important. It's not always a new construction. And when we talk about the field of interior design, renovation, remodeling, revamping, adaptive reuse, these are very, very popular concepts, and more often than not, the services of interior designers are required for these kinds of projects. So we have to understand all these nuances. Each design firm has a unique way of approaching the design of a project. While these approaches vary due to the size of a project, project type, and the design firm's philosophy and resources, the basic scope of services is generally consistent from project to project and firm to firm. So, of course, there may be philosophical underpinnings and, individualistic ideologies for each designer or each firm. But yes, the basic scope and the technical details and the overall approach could have, overlaps from project to project. So I can give like one example. The Chicago-based design firm Eva Maddox and Associates designs a broad range of project types, residential, healthcare, education, commercial, and corporate projects. So they have a very diverse range of projects, and they cater to each one of these, and they have a very, very interesting approach to work on these projects. So every firm, every designer would approach a project, in a philosophically diverse way, but they would have some of the scopes, which is very, very basic and which is consistent throughout these different projects. The firm has combined the best practice knowledge they derive from their diverse practice to construct the following scope of service chart. So, this example I have particularly chosen because they have come up with this very crucial, very functional, extremely informative, and important scope of service chart, which helps them approach, decode, and execute their projects in a very, very effective manner. We will see that chart. The chart is a snapshot in time describing today's key interior services comprising the course of a project from marketing to project closeout. So it lays everything in detail in a stepwise manner. These key interior services or key actions include coordinating the project, developing and monitoring the contract, the fee monitoring, which is very important, scheduling, defining objectives, gathering information, establishing the big idea or the concept, which is the fundamental basis of the project, patterning wherever it is applicable depending on the project type and scale. Of course, formatting the presentation, budgeting, designing, even on the information architecture and the graphic design, which means how the ideas are presented and communicated, and the documentation of the entire process and maintaining a portfolio. So, this is the service chart that is shown over here, and it has key actions like what we saw in the previous few slides. So, project coordination, contract, fee monitoring, and within that there are parameters which are covered and stakeholders which are accounted for and the roles which are defined. So for project coordination, reviewing marketing information, reviewing scope, identifying deliverables, and so on. Then project initiation, conducting team kickoff meetings, development stage, again continuing with conducting team kickoff meetings, maintaining client communication, issuing meeting minutes, design development. So here also there are like very important steps: conducting in-house presentations 2 days prior to client meeting, documentation, documenting everything including the client approval, then the bids, preparing list of qualified bidders, and then stamping appropriate documents and so on. Continuing with the site monitoring aspects, issuing field reports, field conditions, conducting client walkthroughs, and the project closeout. So conducting project closeout meetings, distributing closeout reports, then closing out all project files, and so on. So it's a huge chart, and at every step and for every stage, there is a very detailed and elaborate mention of all the important parameters and the roles and distribution of work. Then for contract as a key action, there are again, set of parameters and stages laid out. For fee monitoring, so confirming fee to work scope, reviewing fee and project work against budget, monitor profitability when we talk about development. For the key action, fee monitoring. So it's like a matrix, and you have parameters on x-axis and y-axis, and then this entire inventory helps one understand, also the relationship design. between different stakeholders and different key actions. And therefore, it's a very, very important inventory and matrix for any kind of project, to be understood and developed. And it helps in executing it well and documenting the entire process. For more key actions over here, so there is scheduling, and scheduling actually at two levels. So one is about the project schedule and one is about the team and consultants, and all the details over here. So important aspects like reviewing project schedule, assigning team, defining, establishing project objectives for the key action objectives, and so on. Here we have project closeout. So schedule closeout meeting, evaluating success of team members when we are talking about schedule with regard to team and consultants, and at the stage of project closeout, and so on. So this again, like I told, is a complete inventory, and it helps us understand this relationship design also. So, I also teach design thinking at IIT Roorkee, and I always emphasize on importance of relationship design, understanding the key actions, the stakeholders, the different steps and stages involved, the entire value chain from procuring raw material to packaging and transportation. So if we understand, these aspects and we create charts like these for us, it will make working on a project very, very easy. It will also showcase that one takes responsibilities and one is serious about their work, and it helps in very, very effective execution of work. So these always help. So this is a very elaborate chart by this design firm, and it continues with key actions like information gathering, big idea slash the central concept behind the project, patterning, and the presentation formats. So these are very, very important aspects. It continues with the key action design, which is very paramount for any project, graphics for communication, and then of course the documentation of the entire process and outcome and everything. So in conclusion, the scope of services chart is an invaluable tool that reaffirms the functional importance of interior design services. By systematically outlining the specific phase services provided by interior designers, the chart helps prevent project hiccups, delays, and malfunctions, thereby significantly enhancing the likelihood of on-time completion of civil work. So that's important. And I'm also highlighting the source that I have mentioned here. It's a very, very valuable resource for all of us. Interior Design Handbook of Professional Practice. And if you write to me, over email or in the discussion forum, I would be happy to share the ebook with all of you. Looking beyond the spectrum of designer-client interactions, this chart offers valuable insights into the professional operations of interior design firms and the broader industry. So it's a very, very precious and useful tool. It highlights the extensive capabilities and involvement of interior designers in every project phase, from initial analysis and concept formulation to detailed specifications, regulatory compliance, and final implementation. Now, I was talking about one case study which will actually demonstrate the application of some of these services and some of the understanding that hopefully we have achieved by now. And it is called BPC, which is the Book Promotion Center, and it is situated in Dehradun. And the project is for the National Book Trust of India, which is, the Ministry of Education agency. So, Book Promotion Center, Dehradun, is a recent addition to NBT's countrywide chain of stores. It was envisioned as an experience center catering to book enthusiasts of all age groups. So, it is for promoting reading habits, it's for promoting different kinds of books. So, it's not a library as such, but it's a book promotion center. So, the client, that is the ministry, they wanted to have a visually stimulating ambience, very nice user experience. And also, the interesting part is that the NBT also, collaborated with the NIVH, the previously known NIVH, and now it is called NIEPVD, which is a very, very special institute for differently abled people. So they collaborated with them, and this book promotion center is nestled within the campus of NIEPVD. So it's an existing building, and it had to be dealt very sensitively. So it's more like a project of adaptive reuse, not designing this from scratch. So while the design accommodates different formats of reading, it lays special emphasis on facilitating individuals with visual impairments. So another important aspect of the brief was to cater to the universal accessibility, and keeping in mind that the BPC is housed within NIEPVD, and it must also facilitate individuals with visual impairments and other differently abled people also. And another important part was that the BPC is open to public, and people from anywhere outside from the city could come, and it was to engage them through very interesting books, within very, very exciting illustrations and visuals. The store's design language is inspired from Uttarakhand's traditional designs and motifs, aiming to enrich a sense of belonging and awareness amongst visitors. So, when I was approached to design this project, uh, my intention was to create a unique design vocabulary, because the center is going to be in Uttarakhand, and Uttarakhand has its very specific traditional designs, motifs, and a design language. So my team was trying to capture that while we were working on this project. So to explain the site context, refurbishing an existing building, like I explained, by adding practical, universally accessible, and modern interior updates, that is what we wanted to do. And now I will explain what was our approach stage wise. So this is the site location, like I was talking about, the campus, NIEPVD, and a very, very unique and special campus. So our stage one, of course, was the site visit, and we were doing the condition assessment and the analysis of the existing building. So this is one of the entrances, which is through the main block, and this is the alternate entrance, which is from somewhere over here. So entering from here. From here you see this side, and from outside this is towards the corridor. So this is the existing hall or the space where the books, were displayed, and this was, so to say, the bookstore, which we wanted to upgrade to a book promotion center. And these were just the tables and the kinds of furniture pieces over which the books were displayed, and these were the corner details, the existing windows, all of that. And then there is this office room. I'll show the plan also. So we were given to work on this office room also. This was the existing billing counter. And this is the model school, which is for the differently abled kids and candidates. So, of course, there's a proximity to this school, and they demonstrate profoundly the principles of, universal accessibility, and how it is demonstrated through their designs. So the intention was to begin with the case study of model school itself, try to understand and imbibe from there what are the principles of universal accessibility and the design elements which are already incorporated there, that could form the continuum for us when we create this book promotion center, along with, of course, the understanding and learnings from more case studies and our experience as a team while working on different projects. So this is the existing space, and this is the entrance and the corridor that was visible on the previous slides. This is the entire space with an existing structure, the openings, and the way the books and everything was displayed over there, and we had to work in this space itself. And here is that office space. So we had to cover this corridor space, enhance the user experience, right from the entrance part all the way to going in this hall, which is now the book promotion center, and then detailing this out completely. Flooring, lighting, electrical layout, everything. In fact, here there was no ramp, and we are promoting universal access through this design, and which is very much important. Accessibility, more to be precise. So we created a ramp over here. So all those details we had, designed, developed, added, and did some upgradation to make this the current book promotion center. And I'll show you some of the pictures, and there is also a walkthrough later that you will get to see during this lecture. So, identifying existing interior elements, structural elements, and condition of the existing building is very essential to arrive at the required functional layout. So, we had to do all of that in detail, and where we had to conceal certain details which were not going with the aesthetic, and where we had to give new details. All of that was, of course, developed and planned after doing the condition assessment of the existing site. Stage 2 was setting a focus, utilizing stakeholder insights. So, of course, we met all these stakeholders. We had to understand what their inputs were and what was their insight and vision for a book promotion center. And that's how we, started by doing meetings and talking to them. So it's very important that we also keep in mind the anticipated impacts and benefits. So we were talking about cultural preservation, we were talking about functional optimization during all these meetings, including brainstorming amongst my own team members, user experience, sustainability. So while we were talking about cultural preservation, our focus was community connection, heritage conservation, artisan empowerment, incorporating locally available materials and skills, creating a design vocabulary unique to Uttarakhand, promoting critical regionalism, empowering the artisans, all of that. We were talking about sustainability, so energy conservation. So we kept in mind the orientation of the building, from where we can maximize the entry of the daylight, how can we maximize the views, and how can we alter or upgrade or adaptively use the space with minimum structural interventions, and trying to have less burden on resources. Eco stewardship, so using materials like nettle, resource efficiency, so trying to procure everything as close to the site as possible, from within Dehradun itself. Functional optimization, so adaptive versatility, space utilization, workflow efficiency. And when we talk about user experience, of course, we were talking about inclusive designs, immersive experience, and enhanced comfort. So we created again, the mind maps and flowcharts like these within our team, and this is how we generally approach the projects, and they are research led design projects. So I actually like to, combine research and design, and it gives very interesting outcomes. So, addressing the client's requirements to enhance reading experiences and community engagement by adopting a comprehensive set of focal points is what we were trying to do. Stage 3, identifying case studies with functional similarities and vision like this. So, we studied some, projects. So, this is one case study that you see over here, another one, and specifically, the reading areas, the display of books, and the play of colors, all of that, circulation. And we are talking about NIEPVD, and we are talking about special focus being the people with visual impairments and other challenges. So, we did some case studies which helped us understand these important aspects also. And these were our initial design proposals. So we gave a lot of options, and we had a lot of back and forth discussion, and we got some inputs, from the NBT and from the NIEPVD. Also within our team, we had inputs, and we assessed the different options before coming to the final one. So exploring functional possibilities by crafting multiple design solutions. We must always try to give multiple design solutions and then see what is the best possible solution which will cater to the client's requirements. Then, of course, stage 5, the design finalization, taking design decisions. This is one of the renders which is depicting the intended user engagement and views of the interior space. And we try to use, color as a defining element. We try to incorporate elements from Uttarakhand to enhance the user experience and create a sense of belonging and identity. We kept in mind the aspects of universal accessibility, and we tried to create diverse experiences, seating, standing, and then using this inbuilt furniture which is juxtaposed to the window opening so that there are views outside. So that's a very interesting space. And providing, physical books to Kindle stations, to different kinds of boards, including the digital screen. All of those details were incorporated. The display of books, corners for storage and retail display, all of that. And then stage 6, execution via technical drawings. So this is work in progress. Technical drawings, plans, sections, elevations, and of course a lot more details constitute the most important part of professional practice in interior architecture, and they are very important, otherwise the work will not get executed properly on site. And they act as primary references, and they are very crucial for executing the project. This is the final layout, and it has all the details that I was talking about, from bag storage to retail display, books for different categories, a multi-purpose platform which is also designed with a unique joinery, because if we need space over here, we can unfold and move it outside and then bring it back, with digital screens and these whiteboards. Then the book display, Kindle stations, seating juxtaposed to the window openings, providing light and interesting views to the landscape outside. More display of books, digital assistive desk, billing counter details, new arrivals right at the entrance. We get a peek on the new arrivals. And then, this configuration of reading nooks and display shelves, which are designed in a very engaging and visually stimulating manner, while keeping in mind that there is enough circulation space. And of course, there are details on the floor which provide the guiding tactile tiles for the visually challenged people. And there is also the provision of enough size of the door and opening that the wheelchair could be turned. So we have kept in mind all these important aspects, and more so because it's nestled in the campus of NIEPVD, but in general also. These are very sensitive aspects, and we as designers must hold responsibilities to keep in mind these important aspects and facilitate them through our designs. So there is a dynamic placement of retail display, audiovisual spaces, pin boards, and reading nooks, and they ensure engagement of all users alike. That's what we have tried to create, and then this book promotion center is now already open to public. Some of the sectional elevations, they are very, very important to help us understand the space configuration and detailing. So here, when we walk through this corridor, there are metal plates which have braille information and which describe the artworks that are put over here. And these project Uttarakhand in particular, the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand, and important details, what kind of handrails and how do they facilitate universal accessibility. And the entrance door has likhai kam, which is also very particular to Uttarakhand. It's basically wood carving. So we have given those kinds of details. And we have created these interesting spaces, for one to sit and read over here. So they have come out very beautifully. And all the details that I showed you, so from entering from here and bag storage, retail display, books, audiovisual spaces in this section, storage of books, seating areas, this multifunctional area where some of the workshops could be done, book launches could be done. Kids could sit over here over cushions and do sketching and painting and so on. And then these seating areas with views outside. So these are the details. Hexagonal shapes offer clear guidance and feedback to individuals with visual impairments as they move through public spaces. So it's not just a visually aesthetic element, that uplifts the overall space and also provides space to sit. But these geometric forms are also sort of, you know, these are like guidance and feedback for the individuals with visual impairment, and they, get to move ahead towards the book once they come across these geometric forms, and the depth inside them guides them for different functionality also. So for this project, I collaborated with a dear friend, architect Priyanka Mangaonkar, and she works with a lot of kids as well as elderly people, and it was very useful to take her inputs and all guidance throughout this project. For interior services, because we are talking about them in particular, of course, we gave in detail, the flooring tile layout plan, and it explains the placement and the type of tiles, where there are tactile tiles, where there are stone tiles, different kind of textures, different kinds of colors. So all those details have to be provided in a working drawing. And there are also sections that you will see later. One section cut like this and one section over here. Tactile tiles ensure seamless accessibility to users with visual impairments, and therefore we made sure that we use these tactile tiles. And these are the sections that I was talking about. So if you can see over here, this tactile tile. So these tiles are, used specifically for helping the people with visual impairment. Surface of tactile tiles should match stone tiles adjacent to it. So it has to be a very precise drawing so that there is no mismatch. Precise detailing is essential for error-free execution on site. And this is the another section. And then the electrical services, again, very important. So what we see over here, the fall ceiling layout plan, which details the placement of all fans and lights integrated in the ceiling. So where should be the fan boxes and all those details, they are important. And continuing with the electrical services, this looping layout plan, that is very, very important. We see these different loops over here. The looping layout plan specifies which appliances to be connected to which switchboard and so on. And here we see, a section depicting the positions of LED strip lights. So these are all very, very important details. Indexing LD02, LD01, and so on. So we provided all these drawings and all the details. And now some of the project outcomes, and I am trying to highlight them through a before and after summary and the functional upgradation that we could achieve. So facade and the signage, that is how it looked like, and there was no ramp. This was made later because of the designs that we provided. And this is the signage and the entrance, how it looks now, with elements from, typical motifs and designs from Uttarakhand, including likhai, which is the wood carving. And here it was like this, and now the ramp that I talked about with tactile tiles leading to this corridor and this entrance, which is quite welcoming, and along with the signage above. This is the existing, it was the corridor, which existed when we were given the project, and now it looks like this with the handrails, and the artworks are being put up still. They are not yet here in these photographs. They also wanted some storage space, within these corridors to have extra books, which can be put periodically, or which are not always required, or which can be taken there and the old ones could be brought here, along with some folding chairs and some kind of important multi-use stationery, etc. So we provided this, but not compromising with the width which is required for the wheelchair access. This is the display of the books and the reading spaces, how they looked earlier, and this is how they look now. This is my student Aditya. He has done a lot of work with me on this project, and this is the space that we created, and then the views outside. And we try to use these eco-friendly materials, so nettle and bamboo and ringal, all those details again from Uttarakhand. There is a walkthrough that will give you the understanding of the entire space upgradation and adaptive reuse program that we created for this book promotion center. In the next lecture, we will continue with professional practice and we will specifically try to focus on bylaws and supervision. These are some of the references, some websites, and this handbook that I told you, and I could easily share the copy of this with all of you. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.